Okay, let's take a look at problem 1, simplifying a rational expression. And it says, what is x squared plus 7x plus 10 divided by x squared minus 3x minus 10 in simplest form? State any restrictions on the variable. So the first thing I need to do is factor. So factoring is in previous sections. So I know that I have a factor out the 10, and I say, what can I multiply times 10 that adds up to give me 7, and it's 2 and 5, so x plus 2 and x plus 5. Same thing here. What can I multiply to get negative 10 to add to give me negative 3, and I get x plus 2 and x minus 5. And so I see at the top and the bottom, I have to have things that are connected. So when I have a plus sign, these are connected to each other. So this is the same on top and bottom. I'm left with x plus 5 and x minus 5. And this is the simplified form. The restrictions is the whole entire bottom. So when I set x plus 2 equal to 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0, I get x cannot equal 5 and x cannot equal negative 2. All right. So let's take a look. It says, what is the rational expression in simplest form? State any restrictions on the variable. So let's take a look. The first one is 24 x cubed y squared over negative 6x squared y cubed. And so this one, I can factor it or I can look at it, whichever one you prefer. If I factor this, I know that, let's just go ahead and say 4 times 6, and I have x, y, y. There's no plus and minus signs. And negative 6, x, y, y, y. So if I was doing this in another way, I can say 24 divided by negative 6 is negative 4, x cubed, and I would subtract 3 from 2, and I would get x, and I would get 2 minus 3, and that would be y. That's one way of thinking about it. Here I can cross out, and I'm left with x here, top and bottom, and I'm left with negative. It doesn't matter if it's on the top or the bottom, so I get negative 4. Oh, I forgot the y's. I have an x over y, so I get the exact same answer. The restriction on the variable, x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0. So I'm looking at this denominator here, and I'm setting it equal to 0, and I'm saying what my to set it equal to 0 to say what the variables can be, what values I can have for the variables. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. I have x squared plus 2x minus 8 over x squared minus 5x plus 6. And so again, I will have to factor. I look at my negative 8, and I say, what can I multiply by negative 8 to give me positive 2? And I get x plus 4 and x minus 2. 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8. 4 minus 2 gives me positive 2. Then I look at the bottom, and I say, what can I multiply to give me negative 6, but add to give me negative 5? And that would be x minus 2 and x minus 3. Negative 2 times negative 3 gives me positive 6. Negative 2 plus negative 3 gives me negative 5. Then I look at top and bottom, and I see, are there any common factors? And I do have x minus 2, on top and bottom. And so simplified, it gives me x plus 4 and x minus 3. To state the restrictions, I need to look at this denominator, and I say x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. So x cannot equal 2 and x cannot equal 3. Okay, and then the last one, I have 12 minus 4x over x squared minus 9. And so I would switch it around. I would do minus 4x plus 12, and I would keep this the same, and I can do that. And so I would factor out a negative 4, so I would say x minus 3, and at the bottom it's a difference of squares, difference of 2 squares, so I get x minus 3 and x plus 3. My x minus 3s are just alike, so I'm left with negative 4 over x plus 3. My restrictions, I look at my denominator, and I set that equal to 0, so x cannot equal 3 and x cannot equal negative 3. And let's see, was there any? That's it. I hope this helps.